Okay, so lesson 1.6 is all about solving different types of equations. So we're going to break this up into a couple of parts here. Today's lesson, we're just going to look at solving some basic equations, and then we're going to get into the distributive property a little bit. So hopefully after today you'll refresh your memory on how to solve some of these. So let's look at this first one. We have 2x plus 8 equals 6x minus 14. Now when I solve an equation, the one thing that I look for is where are my variables. Here I have a variable on one side of the equation. Here I have a variable on the other side of the equation. The easiest way to do this, to avoid negative numbers, because that's a lot of times where students make most of their mistakes, is when they're dealing with negatives. I like to get rid of the smallest variable. So the smallest variable here is 2x. Because this way when I subtract them, it stays positive. So on the left side, this is a positive 8. On the right side, 6x, take away 2x, leaves me with 4x minus 14. So now I have my x on one side, but I have my goal, remember, in solving an equation, is to get the variable by itself. So my next step is I want to get rid of this minus 14, so I add 14 to both sides. Now when I do that, I get 22. Equals 4x. Now when I go to solve this, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. So when I get that, when I divide by 4, my answer is going to be, it'll be x equals 5.5. So now, when I was in school, whoops, lost that. When I was in school, I used to hate it when my teacher used to require me to check my work. But guess what? I'm the teacher now, so now I get to require you to check your work. And even though it sounds maniacal, it isn't meant to be. It took me a long time to figure out the fact that by checking my work, it was really doing myself a huge favor, because I could know right away if I was doing the problem correct. And so I'm hoping that you guys will see the same advantage. I know it's annoying, but I am going to require you to check your work here. So to check our work, what we do is we take the answer that we got, the 5.5, and we put it back in the original problem. And it's important that you put it in the original problem, because who knows, you might have made a mistake going from the original problem to the next step. So we always go back to the original. So we're going to take 2 times 5.5 plus 8. I want to see, is that equal to 6 times 5.5 minus 14? Well, 2 times 5.5, that's 11. And 11 plus 8 gives me 19. 6 times 5.5 gives me 33. Minus 14 also gives me 19. So my answer checks out here, so everything's all good. So I know I've done it correctly. Uh-oh. Let's look at the next one here. We have some exponents, but don't let that freak you out, because watch what happens. So make sure you write this problem down. So you might want to pause it, and so that way you can get it written down, and then you can hear what I have to say. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 2y squared from both sides. So I want to get all the variables together. Now when you do this to both sides, you want to make sure that the variables for the like terms line up. We wouldn't put it under the y, because it has a y squared. I put it under the y squared. Well, that means that this y squared also ends up being gone. So I have 3y minus 8 equals 1. Not so bad. So now I want to get the y by itself, so I add 8 to both sides, leaving me with 3y equals 9. Divide both sides by 3. And get y equals 3 as my answer. To check it, we go back to the original problem, even though you might say, well, wait a minute, I know the 2y squareds cancel out, so can I just ignore those? Nope, because what if we made a mistake, and what if they weren't supposed to cancel out? So let's go back. Let's replace our y with a 3. So when I do that, well, we know 3 squared is 9, so I have 2 times 9 plus 9 minus 8, or 18 plus 9 minus 8. Well, 18 plus 9 is 27. 27 minus 8 is 19. So that's the left side. I want to see, does that equal what the right side is supposed to be? So that's going to be 2 times my y, which is 3 squared, plus 1. Well, 3 squared is 9, which is 18, plus 1, which is 19. So obviously these check out. We get the same answer on both sides of the equal sign, and we're done. Now just a note about checking our work. Our goal is to see if this makes a true statement. These very rarely will ever be the same amount. So you're not checking to see if these two are the same answer. That's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is when we check it, do we get a true statement? 19 does equal 19. That is a true statement. So that's how we know we got the right answer. If I had gotten negative 16 or something weird over here where it doesn't work, that means that there's a mistake somewhere. Now that mistake could have happened while we checked our work. So that's what I would check first. Make sure that you did all the order of operations correct. If you use a calculator, make sure you put it in your calculator correctly. And if that all seems like you didn't make a mistake, then go back and look at your original problem and see if you could find where you made a mistake there. So let's look at this next one. With this next one, we see parentheses. Anytime we have parentheses, our first step should always be to distribute. You should remember that. That's the distributive property. Next, to distribute, we multiply everything in parentheses by whatever is immediately outside of it. So we multiply everything by 6. So it's going to be 6x minus 18. Now when you get to the end of the parentheses, you're done distributing. So it ends with it. It ends right here. So now I combine like terms. Here I see we have a negative 18 and a positive 8. I can add those together. Negative 18 plus 8 is negative 10. So I have 6x minus 10 equals 32. Next, I add 10 to both sides. Leaving me with 6x equals 42. Divide both sides by 6, I get x equals 7. Now for this one, if I check my answer, I'll have 6 times 7 minus 3 plus 8. I know on the right side I have 32. So to check it, I take 7 minus 3. Well, 7 minus 3 is 4. 6 times 4, well, that's 24. And sure enough, 24 plus 8 is 32. So it checks. Okay, so hopefully that's enough just to get you started here on remembering how to solve equations with the distributive property when we have x's on 2 sides of the equal sign. Hopefully, then you won't have any problems with your assignment. Good luck.